With less than a month to go until Christmas, European cities are starting to dress up for the festive occasion. But with the threat of terror high across the holiday season, authorities have come up with a creative way to maintain heightened security without spreading panic. Here's our correspondent, Polly Boyko.
Festive trees aren't the only thing being installed in the run-up to Christmas. On the streets of Britain, you're likely to see decorations, Christmas markets and an extra dose of concrete. New security measures are being put in place at festive markets across the country, and steel barriers like these around London's winter wonderland are intended to protect pedestrians from ISIL-style truck attacks. For anyone put off by all the steel and concrete, this could be the answer. Authorities in the city of Hull have come up with this novel way of dressing up their anti-terror crash barriers. London's Metropolitan Police have said that this year the public may see additional protective measures and security checks at festive events around the capital. And it's not just rings of steel and concrete. Permanent bollards like these have become commonplace. They prevent cars and trucks from entering pedestrian zones.
You feel a bit more safer seeing the police and knowing that they're on top of it.
Okay, so the extra security visibly makes you feel better?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
You know, we just expect more security everywhere now. It's just because that's just unfortunately the way of the world. Yeah.
After the deadly terror attacks this year, many in the UK are feeling vulnerable. Last week, a security alert at London's Oxford Circus tube station triggered mass panic. 9 people were injured when crowds ran to escape what they believed to be gunshots. After a security lockdown, the incident turned out to be a false alarm, as well as an illustration of just how nervous many are feeling this festive season. Polly Boyko, RT, London.
And not just in Britain, but all across Europe, authorities are seeking to secure locals and tourists visiting Christmas markets. Concrete blocks have been installed in Berlin, Munich, Budapest and other cities as well. And as Europe steps up security over the festive period, an ominous picture has spread online of an Islamic State fighter holding a knife with the caption, "Soon on your holidays," written in English, French and German. Concrete blocks in public places may help prevent certain types of attacks, but as our guest explains, when it comes to the issue of 100% safety, that's impossible to ensure.
Security services have to measure their responses against incidents of this nature. If they decide not to respond promptly, and it is, God forbid, a proper terrorist incident, then they will be blamed. If they overreact, then of course they will be blamed if somebody has been killed. It's never enough. No security measure is enough, especially because of incidents that have happened in Berlin and other areas. We need to start reviewing how security will be handled in areas of this nature. Everybody is panicking at this time. Everybody is expecting something to happen.
Kurdish forces fighting in Syria say that they, quote, have no problem joining the government army if they're allowed to form a federal state in the north of the country. The statement comes after Turkey claimed that the US president had promised to stop arming Kurdish forces. However, there's apparently no clear position on this matter at the White House.
Once we started winning the campaign against ISIS, the plan and part of the process is to always wind down support for certain groups. Now that we're continuing to crush the physical caliphate, that we're in a position to stop providing military equipment to certain groups.
Kurdish forces have been successfully fighting Islamic State in northern Syria. You can see on this map who controls what areas. The US has long been providing the Kurds with military equipment, something that has been irritating Washington's NATO ally, Turkey. Here are some details now with RT's Murad Gazdiev.
As the proverb says, you can't ride 2 horses with one backside. Makes sense, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't stop people from trying.
We support Turkey in the first fight against terror and terror groups like ISIS and the PKK.
The president authorized the Department of Defense to equip Kurdish elements of the Syrian Democratic Forces.
We should be using the Kurdish, we should be arming the Kurdish.
Whatever the reason is, it is not something that is acceptable for our friend and NATO ally.
Turkey's an ally, obviously, a strong partner, certainly with respect to ISIL, and a friend.
Here's how it is. Two U.S. allies, the Turks and the Syrian Kurds, are sworn enemies. Washington has armed the Kurds to the teeth, saying they need these weapons to fight the jihadists. And Turkey sort of understood.
Since when do you need to cooperate with one terrorist organization to fight another terrorist organization? It's not the way a serious state should behave, and it does not suit the United States.
So, what next? Does the U.S. abandon one of its most trustworthy partners, try to take back those guns? The Kurds aren't stupid. They can play that game, too.
There is no problem for our forces to join the Syrian army if a new Syrian constitution is drafted on a federal basis and the rights of all Syrian parties are reserved.
This is a two-pronged approach. It's a warning to the U.S. We can dump you before you dump us. And a message to Assad. Give us what we want, autonomy, and we won't need the Americans.
As a Kurd, I can say that our people want to build a Syria for all Syrians, with no force or ethnic group dominating any other group. I believe it is in the interests of the Kurds as the second largest ethnic group in Syria to build a new multi-party and federal Syria where the interests of the Kurdish people would be enshrined in a constitution, allowing Kurds to participate in parliament and join the army and all other state institutions.
A new constitution for Syria is on the horizon. Russia, Iran and Turkey are backing the initiative. But what the Kurds get out of it is still up for debate.
The US has never viewed the Syrian Democratic Forces as partners. Unfortunately, the US has only been using them to fight ISIL and destroy Raqqa. I believe the alliance between the US and forces on the ground, including the SDF in Syria and Kurdish groups in Iraq, has never been a true partnership. The US provided assistance and weapons for self-defense purposes and for combating ISIL, but these agreements have never been linked to military action.
Which leaves us with the US and its two horses. Betray the Turks, a valuable NATO ally, or betray the Kurds, their ace in Syria. Alternatively, wait for them to betray the states.
It was the Turkish foreign minister who said that Donald Trump had promised President Erdogan to cut military aid to the Kurds. We asked the US-led coalition about the issue. This is the response we received. The coalition says it is committed to providing the Syrian Democratic Forces the support they need in order to defeat Islamic State. Author Nicholas Davies says Washington's pronouncements on the issue of arming the Kurds should not be taken at face value.
I think we have to wait and see exactly what this means, but at the same time, we should be very conscious that most of the arming of rebel groups in Syria by the US and its allies was done covertly. So whatever they are saying publicly is not necessarily the whole story. there's a lot of holes in that story that are big enough to drive you know, ships, planes and trucks loaded with weapons through.